Hello, my name is Alan. My pronouns are he, him, and tonight, in my time at least, I'm facilitating the third of what we hope is going to be 8 or 9 sessions of The Between. This is a PBTA game of Gothic horror in old London town, Victorian London town. We're placing it about 1870s, I think. This is by Jason Cordova and draws heavily from media such as Penny Dreadful, as well as sort of other stuff. If you want to know, sorry, this game was organized as part of the Gauntlet RPG community. If you don't know about the Gauntlet, search gauntlet-rpg.com and look at earlier videos of mine, which will have more detail. These players are experienced Gauntleteers, and we've played together a lot. So I'm not going to over-egg the fact that we are playing with the Gauntlet Code of Conduct. We are playing with a bunch of safety tools, lines and veils, hex card, open door, and they know how all of those operate. So that's just to make sure that we all have a good time at the table. So our fourth player has got a family thing, so is not joining us tonight, but we hope they'll be back next time. But for now, let me, just for the radicalness of it, let me go in reverse character keeper order from right to left. So David, say hello, tell us about your pronouns and introduce us to Dr. Victor Weiss.
Yeah, hi, my name is David. I use he, him pronouns, and I am playing Dr. Victor Weiss, also uses he, him pronouns. Dr. Weiss is in the Mother playbook. This is your kind of, Frankenstein analog character, including the attempt to create life from scavenged body parts. Though I've not had much opportunity to scavenge yet. Might have to see if we can address that later. So Dr. Weiss is has sort of piercing blue eyes, neat moustache, and little sort of under chin beard, under lip beard. Wears glasses, just very small, sort of wire framed glasses. Constantly smoking, or very frequently smoking at any rate. Last time we saw Dr. Weiss, he was it's been doing a lot of interrogating of people in general, but this included the subject of a haunting, as well as a seemingly insane cannibal pie maker in Bedlam.
I love the seemingly. The case is out on the sanity of Titus Fig, everyone. Okay, moving along. Yes, this is a good order, because this now introduces us to Chambers. So Leandro, say hello, tell us your pronouns, and introduce us to Chambers, because you are our factotum and have a relationship with Dr. Weiss.
Yes, quite a some would say special, some would say business-like. Hi, my name is Leandro. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm playing the aforementioned Chambers. She, her pronouns. What's her first name? Doesn't matter. She's the factotum, which means she is in the service of an employer. More specifically, the aforementioned Dr. Victor Weiss, the mother. Chambers is competent, slippery, mysterious, seems to not break that easily, and is carrying quite a checkered past. We saw bits of it last week, involved burning down a rich guy's house, meeting a ghost, criminal life, some ill-gotten gains, portraits, an apartment with some friends. Who knows how all that came together? Because right now, Chambers has not given an inch to anyone, and doesn't seem to be in the mood for it. I think last time we saw her, she was jumping through a unexpected wall of fire that she was fairly certain was not real, and she was right.
Indeed so. Indeed so. And currently she is undercover as a maid of all works in a haunted house.
How we work out from.
you-
We can only
you-
go well from there.
Chambers is the inside woman. And this brings us along to Blake. Blake, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Razor Rose Roberts, the American.
G'day, I'm Blake, he, him, playing Razor Rose Roberts, an American, somewhat out of place in Victorian London, but she's been on in good behaviour so far. That's going to end soon. ...
Yeah, because last time we got, because the thing about Rose is that her secret is that she is at risk of turning into a feral beast. And last time we began to see some hints of that, not just because she is suppressing so far every urge she has had to make the transformation, but she does enjoy some raw meat, doesn't she? A little bit of blood, a little bit of raw meat now and again goes a long way for Razor. Okay, so those are our three characters. As I think we've gathered, last time Dr. Weiss was being thrown out of Bedlam, actually, because of the behaviour of our fourth character, Annie Morish, the vessel, who was spotted biting the throat out of a rat in order to power a ritual with blood. And that certainly got Dr. Waters, I can't remember, Dr. Rodney Walters, who appears to be in charge at Bethlehem Hospital. Clearly, Dr. Weiss, you are not going to be welcome at Bedlam in the company of Ms. Morish or Nurse Morish or Sister Morish, I think we're coming to know her as. But maybe you could talk your way back in. But certainly you've been put out. As we know, Chambers is undercover as a maid of all work and has just encountered a wall of fire that turned out to be an apparition. I don't want to say that the apparitions at 18 James Street are getting more noticeable, but others might. And Rose was boxed out of a library by a boxing librarian last time. So I think we pick up Rose with it's still daytime. You outside the British Library, where you were checking on some plans, I think. I can't now remember the detail, I'll be honest.
To clarify, so we haven't solved the St. James ghost thing. We've just answered one of the questions. We need to answer another couple.
Well, there's one more question.
Okay.
Yeah, just to summarize, you know that the ghost is attached most securely to the hall of the house.
That's right.
And now you would need to answer the question: how can we get this ghost to pass on to the next world, and then perform a quieting ritual to do so? I will also remind you that you currently all have access to the custom move called somewhere right down the bottom above your personal quarters, Old Bones. When you have the cosmic passage marked and touch, listen, or otherwise attune to a building, roll the sensitivity. On a hit, a ghost will appear and answer a single question you pose to it. That could apply now, but that move is in place for as long, in perpetuity now. So yeah, that's the circumstance we are with that. The first question on the mystery that Titus Fig is part of is what kind of animal does Patrick Fig think he is? And so far you have one clue: a book of nursery rhymes. All the references to birds have been crossed out. And just for completeness, a specific threat related to our vessel, the Coven. The Coven arrived in London. But to be honest, I'm going to put the Coven to one side until Ollie's back at the table, unless you're particularly interested in pursuing it yourselves.
No, that's...
So, Rose, what's the plan now?
As far as I know, the others aren't at home, so... Because I don't have to be in the building, I could just walk up and touch the side of it, couldn't I? If there's
you could.
an alley.
You could, as
nearby,
long
so
as
they
Cosmic Passage is marked.
Now, does it have to be I've marked it, or someone in the
You have to
group.
have marked it, otherwise
Ah,
you can't
please.
use the move.
Yeah. Okay. I went to the library. I suppose I could talk to the neighbours. No, I've been there before. I'll go to the house.
Okay.
Introduce myself properly this time.
Yes,
What's
because for the most part, you were related to Annie Morrish, weren't you?
Yeah.
And so you ding as you pull the bell. Chambers, do you rush to answer the door? Because it is on the list of things you're supposed to do.
Oh yeah, is it? Is it? Well, I suppose I should look busy and do that.
Slightly out of breath, having been up in the attic, I think, and had to run downstairs to get to the bell. Just as Mrs. Thicket comes to the top of the basement door and says, "Come on, girl, hurry up."
I think he'll be like, hang on, is this the right place? Oh, no.
Door opens. And it's Chambers behind the door.
Yes, I was wondering if I could speak to Mr. Beale, wasn't it?
I think I'm prepared to have Mr. Beale in because Mr. Beale was present last night and I think is slightly concerned about events from the previous evening when Dr. Weiss and Annie Morrish seemed to precipitate some events in the hallway that involved pigeon blood or dove's blood, I think. And that was the first job you had to do this morning, Chambers, was to clean up the mess in the hall and scrub it clean. So yeah, Mr. Beale will see you. He will, because he doesn't really know. His wife dealt with Annie when you were present.
Yeah, neither of them really dealt with me.
No, exactly. So yeah, let's put you in the sitting room of the front room of St. James Street with. Where's he gone? Harold Beale, a husband and father, patchy beard, constantly fiddling, a bookkeeper and amateur mathematician. What can I do for you, miss?
I'd say, my name's Rose. I work with Hargrave House. I heard there's been some difficulties here, and I just wanted to have a look around if that's all right, and thought it might be of assistance.
Let's try the day move to find out what his understanding of Hargrave House is, or how he might respond to them.
Yeah, I'm going to take my hat off, and I'm trying to be a bit more meek and polite because I understand we didn't make the greatest impression last time.
Well, I mean, the nice thing about the fact that you were to a large extent, the second fiddle to Annie, they have a very clear recollection of Annie Morrish, but there was a younger woman with her, is I think as far as it got.
If the dog comes in, I'll sort of kneel down and pat it, and show I'm non-threatening.
Fine.
Well, at least apparently.
And yeah, go on then. I tell you what, let's have the dog in the room with him. And the dog is clearly affectionate and friendly towards you. You can roll with advantage.
Okay, cool.
Are you currently operating under any? You do have a bloodied nose and a bruised throat, so I'll put the dog advantage to cancel disadvantage I would otherwise have thrown at you, because he is looking at you as you are bruised around the neck. And your nose, while you've wiped the blood away, there's clearly some bruising around the nose.
I've forgotten the dice roll. Okay.
Roll straight, plus presence.
Yeah. Let's have one. Okay, cool. Let's have a look. Let's have straight. Here we go. So, shit. 6.
6. Oh my goodness. Rose, I will describe. Oh, sorry, I should have asked you first, shouldn't I? Name what you're afraid will happen if you fail or lose your nerve. What are you afraid is going to go wrong?
Well, yeah, I'm afraid they're going to remember me, or the ghost will remember me, I guess.
Right. I think if this was the night move, it might be the ghost, but I think we'll settle for Mr. Beale. I think that, and he looks at you, say, excuse me, have you been to the house before? My wife described a bizarre woman who came with someone else who fitted your description. I'm not sure I'm prepared to talk to you if you are that young person. Now,
so Yes, I did. I didn't mean any offence. I didn't get a chance to talk last time.
Before you try to talk your way out of that, do you want to put on a mask to improve this failure? Because the failure is real. He is not going to talk to you.
Well, screw it. Might as well chuck on Cosmic Passage then.
Well, there you go. So a Cosmic Passage, mark Cosmic Passage. What does it say? It says increase your sensitivity by 1 and reduce your reason by 2.
Oh, beautiful.
Wow.
It's not letting me put -2 in. Someone mentioned this the other day in the thing.
Does it not do -2?
I wonder if I can just change the color of it so I know it's a minus. That'll do. Yep.
Okay. So -2. I'll see if Drew's come up with a tweak for that. So so that improves it to a mixed result. Okay. And tell you how your actions would leave you vulnerable, and you can choose to back down or go through it. Okay. So he is suspicious that you are that person, but he's not simply going to throw you out. But you are on thin ice with Mr. Beale. Yeah.
But you know, I've got my hat in my hand. I'm speaking gently and stuff. I'm not making sudden hand movements. I'm trying not to be threatening.
So how can I help you then? Is this
so I just need to have a look around, you know, and just sort of clarify, you know, has anything been missing or moved since that event happened? Did anything odd happen before that? And just generally ask questions about the situation of the house.
I think he has heard of Hargrave House. He's read about you in the newspapers. He understands that, generally speaking, you are on the side of the angels. And I think his view is probably a little like that of the people of Sherlock Holmes, that Holmes works for Scotland Yard and never takes the public credit. So he associates you with Scotland Yard. And so I think his view will be that, well, like you see, they took no interest at all. It was declared a sad accident and they moved on. And yet I remain very worried about it, I must tell you.
Well, we're worried too. There was something in the report that just seemed odd, and you know, if we could just have a quick wander around, I just want to have a look, see if there's anything strange. But I'm just sort of making chit chat about, you know, has anything moved before that or since, or anything odd stuck out, any sounds or smells?
Because of that thin ice, I don't think he's going to let you wander around the house on your own. He will.
No, I'm happy to.
And he says, well, shall we begin in the dining room?
Sure, that'd be excellent.
And he stands by the door as you look around the dining room. We've been here before. It's not well. The taste here is rather lower class, I think we decided, rather not very sophisticated. And what do you see that confirms that this is perhaps not the most high class of taste?
The silverware and crockery don't match.
Okay. And as you look around, this sounds like you're pitching at the information move.
Yeah. We don't have to detail each room. We can just do a montage if you like, and say we go into each room and just make chit chat about what's different.
Fine. And so you work your way up the house. Chambers, what are you doing while Rose is with the master of the house?
Okay, if I remember correctly, the fire happened in that boy's room, right?
Yes.
I was poking around that boy's room. I think the next place I'm gonna poke around, try to remember what rooms we've been to, so I can find places we've been to.
The rooms we have to play with are the basement, the front room, the dining room, the bedrooms on the first floor, and the nursery and the maid's room in the attic.
Ooh, I'll make a beeline for the maid's room. Since what precipitated this was the death of a maid.
Exactly, and have you decided whether you're living in or not? I think it would be complicated if you're living in, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think like Chambers, just a small peek into their mindset, they're here for the duration of this mystery.
Okay. And so you're going to continue to live at Hargrave House, but turn up very early every morning. So you're in the nursery as Rose moves through the house. Yes,
The maid's room.
The maid's room. Sorry, the maid's room. As this montage is going on, of we cut from Rose and Mr. Blake looking Mr. Beale in different rooms, cutting to Chambers as she's lifting the mattress and doing stuff in the maid's room. Dr. Weiss, Annie suddenly comes over very pale. I think your assumption is it's related to what has happened at Bethlehem, and she says, "I'm sorry, doctor. I must go," and she just disappears into London, into the crowds of London. So, what are you going to do, Dr. Weiss?
I think that I'm going to go for a walk past the Figs pie shop. Probably not going to actually go inside at the moment. Just kind of case it from the outside and probably come back in the evening, as we have been told to kind of keep this. Well, we haven't been told to keep this on the down low, but Scotland Yard wanted to keep this on the down low. So
indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, fine. So it is in Whitechapel. See behind me, and I think just past that pub with those lights outside, on the right-hand side of this street is Figs Pigs. London's greatest pies is painted on the hoarding above the shop. It must be said, it looks pretty unsalubrious for one of London's great pie shops. With a reputation of it has a great reputation for its pies. Unfortunately, people have recently found some fingers in them. So, what are you doing? Just walking up and down, Victor? Because you look a bit obvious. I'll be honest with you. In your flash gear.
That's it. That was what I was thinking. So, I think that Victor is probably going to. Yeah, to kind of walk past the place, take a sort of stop to check his pocket watch or something similar, and just kind of very briefly just kind of have a look up and see what else is around, and what might be what places overlook it, all that kind of stuff. But I don't think he's going to hang around here because as I said, at the minute he just kind of stick out. I think maybe as sort of pretext, we'll kind of after his case, the police will kind of probably ask someone for directions or similar, but that's sort of kind of his approach here, I think.
Well, great minds think alike, because as you are looking at your pocket watch and looking around, that you feel a tug on your coat, and an urchin looks up at you and says, "You lost, mister." Let us cut back to Rose. Rose, let's have you roll the information move. Now, this sounds like it's a fairly orderly, investigative search. Yeah?
But I'm as much paying attention to sounds and smells as I am looking.
Okay, so are you saying that's sensitivity, or are you saying that's
maybe composure, actually? Just being calm and trying to experience the room.
Okay. Shutting Mr. Beale up so you can keep a clear head. Yeah, fine. So I don't think that the bloodied nose or the throat will apply in this circumstance as a disadvantage.
No.
So you are rolling 2D unless you've got a reason to have advantage.
Nope. Unless the dog's trying to point out something, or sniffing in the corner or something.
You tell me. Do you encourage the dog to come with you?
Yeah.
Then now you have another pair of eyes and senses on the job. Let's have you roll with
Well,
advantage.
that could be narratively why I got an 11 anyway.
Okay, there you go. So on an 11, you are going to find out. Now, I do need to ask you. On an 11, you are going to find a clue. But were
That's fine.
you to mark a mask of the past or a mask of the future, you would move it into the 12 plus category and also find a mastermind clue.
Well, I already marked Cosmic Passage, so could I actually do that move while I'm that old bones thing?
Well, you've rolled the information move.
Oh yes, okay.
So do you want to put on a mask to improve that and get a mastermind clue as well?
Nah, that's fine. I'll just
Okay.
do this one.
Okay. Which room do you want this focused in?
Because Chambers was in the maid's room.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, I'll do in the little boy's room.
Okay, so you're upstairs or you're in the little boy's room, and the dog snuffles about under the little boy's bed and finds a little wax doll.
Yeah.
And the clue is Mary Alice's favorite wax doll has been missing. Okay. So that is the clue you get. Mary Alice's favorite wax doll has been missing. Chambers, as we've been cutting back and forth between you and what you find in the maid's room, let's see, shall we?
Yeah. What's the state of this room?
I think it's neat and tidy. It's a bit dusty because no one's been sleeping here. But yes, I mean it's a simple bed. There's a small chest of drawers. There's a table with a water ewer and bowl. It's a simple but clean bedroom.
I think Chambers is gonna thoroughly kind of search this place, kind of like drawers, open, looking underneath the sheets and all that. I think always always kind of like trying to look in the corner of her eye for like any other nonsense that might be thrown our way.
Yes, fine. So let's have you roll the information move then. I mean, it sounds like reason.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Anything that would give you advantage?
Someday I'll pull out that hand of glory, but probably not right now. No, I don't think I got anything at the moment. Cool. Find that. That's an 8, and I think I'm gonna let that stick.
8 is the lot. Okay, so on a 79, there's a complication. Either with the clue itself or okay. As you are searching very thoroughly, I am going to yes, a mirror cracks. There's a mirror, just a small mirror, by the water ewer and bowl, and I think that as you are searching somewhere else, behind you, you hear the mirror crack, and you turn around, look in the mirror, and the little boy is standing just inside the door. And the clue is a mirror cracks. You tell me. The pattern is lace, a star, a spiral, or something else.
Something. Can it be a web?
Okay, so if you want to put a clue in that says a mirror cracks in the form of a web, it looks just as though something has hit the middle and it has literally formed concentric circles going out from where it cracked. And in that cracked mirror, you see little Roger in his sailor suit, standing inside the closed door. Are you searching for things again?
I forgot what to address him. I think like Chambers kind of stops. It's like, Begging your pardon, sir. I was just asked to turn out and see if there's any left of the previous maid's belongings. After the poor dear died, she probably didn't leave much behind. But I was asked to look for any effects she might have brought.
And he points past you at the mirror and said, "You broke the mirror." And as you turn back to it, you notice that his reflection is not in the mirror anymore. And in fact, he's not in the room. Dr. Weiss. Dr. Weiss, are you lost or something, or are you waiting for someone, mister?
I think I've taken a wrong turn, yes, child. If you could help me get to and you know, I'll name kind of a couple of streets over, sort of thing. I'm sure I could spare a couple of coins for you.
I came round to see if the figs was back. It was always good to me. But yeah, I can take you there, mister. Penny.
Of course. I will, you know, pull a coin out and hand it to him, and say, the figs, they owned this pie shop.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, fantastic pig. No, fantastic. No, they was grand pies. They was.
Well, a shame they are closed. I have not yet had my my luncheon, so. But do you
get in round the back?
It would probably be best I don't go poking around into there without if they're not around. Though I'm sure if my situation were different, maybe I would be tempted to take up that offer.
You've done half talk posh, mister. Do you want me to go round the back and get a pie? Threaten bit and it's yours.
Oh, well, go on then. It would be rather a treat. I suppose I can always keep lookout for you whilst you're inside. Yeah, he'll kind of give a dramatic wink as he puts a couple more coins out.
And I think he will lead you down a little alleyway, a little way along the street and back along a back lane. It says, "Right, mister, keep a lookout. If the peelers come, whistle."
I shall indeed, my young fellow.
I think let's have the day move here.
Sure thing.
Just to see how well this goes. What are you concerned could go wrong here, Dr. Weiss?
I think that yeah, I think that actually the what might go wrong here is that this is all a ruse to get me into an alleyway and rob me.
And a couple of burly blokes might turn up.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's have you roll. So this sounds like composure then, actually, to just
sure thing. Yeah, no, that sounds good.
Anything going to give you advantage, or
I don't think so.
And you're not currently laboring under any disadvantage, so 2d6 plus composure.
Sure thing. That is a total of 5.
"Hello, mister," says a burly gentleman who isn't a gentleman. "Nice fella like you shouldn't be loitering around the back streets of Whitechapel like this, should you?"
Ah, indeed. I was somewhat lost on my way. I am sure I can find it if you fine gentlemen will allow me to get on my way.
Oh no, we couldn't let you do that. You might get into difficulties, mister. Tell you what, a guinea and we'll see you home.
Yeah, and I think at this point I am going to mark the. I think I'm going to go for the mask of the past again.
Okay. To improve this from a complete disaster to a different kind of encounter.
Indeed, indeed.
Okay. So do tell.
Yeah. So I think this is a flashback to again, clearly back to Dr. Weiss's university days. He is sat on a bed. He has like a journal open in front of him, but he is, he's sketching in it a picture of another man who is sort of lying, is also sprawled across the other bed on the other side of the room, sort of thing. He is taller, bigger than Victor Weiss is. He's got that kind of curly golden hair sort of down to his shoulders. He's got kind of a cricketer's build, quite tall, quite strong but rangy sort of thing. Sprawled back on the bed and is reading. I think he's got a book of Byron's poems. He's sort of leafing through. I think it might actually be Don Juan, and he's just kind of lit up. He's just lit up a cigarette, sort of thing, as he's reading, and Victor says, "Oh, for heaven's sake, Kit, not those horrible things again. I'll never get the smell out." And Kit just kind of puts the book down and kind of prowls over the room and kind of does the proper, like, blowing a mouthful of smoke into his face, and smiles at him, and we just get that moment, and he's I think Kit says, "Oh, come now, Vicky, you know you love me anyway." And we kind of see that as Victor is kind of looking up at him, we just see that kind of moment in his eyes where we know that is true.
How lovely. How lovely. Mind you, I'm not sure that we like Kit as much as we did. I think there may be some power imbalance in this relationship. And as you're thinking of that smoke, it clears, and there is the same burly gentleman in front of you, but then a chirpy voice comes over from the top of the wall. "It's all right, Billy, he's with me," says Rag the urchin. "All right, Rag, mate. Just checking in, like." Tips his hat. "We'll be off then." So you have a pie if you want it, and you have a friend in Rag the urchin. What do you want to do with that? Well, think about what you want to do with that friendship while we cut back to Rose. So Rose, what happens next, do we think?
I'm just going to, like, examine the stairwell, sort of, and I'll stop talking and just pretend I'm having, like, a real good, like, CSI style sort of look. But I'll try and do the old bones thing.
Okay.
Sort of placing, I take my gloves off and put my hands on the floorboards and looking around.
Okay, so let's just read the move. When you have touch, listen, or otherwise attune to a building's architectural details. Roll with sensitivity. Go ahead. Is there anything that's going to give you advantage here, or
I'm not going to pull my knife out. That's not going to.
Okay. To be honest, I don't think that that your current disadvantages, your conditions apply here. So go ahead.
10.
Wow, right. So on a hit, a ghost will appear and answer a single question you pose to it or perform a small task, your choice. Any answer it gives can be in the form of a clue at the keeper's discretion. On 10 plus, as above, and the ghost will not ask for anything in return. So what does this look like then? We're not certain. We've seen a killer so far, but whether that was the ghost or whether it was someone possessed by the ghost. So this is a chance for us to conceivably get a view of the ghost, I suppose.
Yeah, well, might as well. If I can get it to show up in front of Mr. Beale, that'll be sweet. That'll give us some.
Well, my next question was going to be, is this something you see, or is this something that people around you see?
It might be better just me, because I don't want him to be terrified. And I'll just say to him, how can we let you pass on?
Now, you can't ask that question, because that is the question that you will need to use.
Okay.
So
I can just say, what do you want?
Okay.
What keeps you here?
Okay. And I think that you hear someone falling down the stairs to the attic, where the maid's room and the nursery is. The clue is the sound of someone falling down the stairs. But when you go to one side to see if who it is, there's nobody there apart from young Roger standing on the half landing. Okay.
Well, that's got some useful stuff. So I'll thank Mr. Beale for his time. I'm going to consult with my fellows and see what's going on.
Chambers, what did you do when you turned to look at the mirror and young Roger was not reflected in it?
I think Chambers gives the mirror a long, cold look, trying to, keep her composure. Looks around to see if no one's looking. He's gonna reach out and gonna take a shard of that mirror.
Oh, right. Okay.
Look at that and take that.
Okay. So I think you can mark a shard, a sharp shard of a mirror, a sharp shard into your personal quarters. Dr. Weiss, what do you do with your newfound friend? And I see Rag is kind of slightly artful dodger, a bit of a swagger. Nice pie.
Yeah, I think I will take out a handkerchief and wrap the pie carefully in it, tie up the ends into a nice little bow, and I think at that point, I will get Rag to lead me back, to my supposed destination. But I think I'll just ask him. I'll sort of say, do you live nearby? I'll gently ask about the figs. Do you know what happened to them? But in a fairly conversational sort of way.
Yeah, and I think Rag is kind of, I like the figs. They'd often give me a bit of pie if it was left over at the end of the day, and people is saying that they was putting people in the pies. Well, maybe those people deserve to be put in a pie. Do you ever think of that?
I hardly think that people are going to be going around baking people into pies anyway. After all, it's far easier to just get hold of pigs.
Well, depends if you got any coppers, mister. you go to somebody and he points to some indigent in a doorway and says, you know, ask her where she gets a pork from. And she'll say, oh, pork, I haven't seen any pork since Christmas.
That is true, I suppose. That is true. But if their business was successful, I can only assume they had the readies necessary and would not have to resort to kidnapping and murdering people to bake.
Well, I'm sure you're right, sir. I'm sure you're right. And it's just rumors put about by evil-minded folk.
Indeed, indeed.
This sounds like you're angling around the information move.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Then this sounds like presents, making friends with Rag.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. And that's a 3.
Rock and roll. Well, you know, on a 3. He does seem to be leading you in a slightly circuitous backstreet route. And you do notice that those 2 gentlemen, what he said was you was with him, do seem to be following you down this deserted lane. Would you at all wish to don a mask?
No. I think this is probably going to happen. You know, the dice clearly will it.
And so I think we cut to you stumbling up an alleyway with a bleeding lip and a bruise on the side of your face. And you reach your pocket watch and realize, oh, damn, it's gone. So would you mark the condition badly beaten? Your composure is shaken, and physically you're shaken, and I see you flagging down a hansom cab and seeking quieter climes, perhaps.
Yes, I think I will return to Hargrave House.
Okay. What about Rose?
Yeah, she'll say, look, you know, she's going to head home. She thanks Mr. Bill for his time, give the dog a pat on the way out. So, yeah.
Chambers. The little boy disappeared, as he is prone to do when your back is turned.
Yeah, I know a warning when I see one, so I think Chambers is gonna like stow the snooping for the day and get on with the rest of the chores of that list. Keep that shard and try to get to the next day.
Okay. Well, it sounds then as though we approach dusk, and as you have agreed, Chambers, that that you are not living in at this point. Perhaps your excuse is that you have the rest of the month to work out in your current accommodation. And Mrs. Thicket is so desperate for help, she's prepared to accept that, you know, with dusk, she'll be on her own. And so I think we reconvene at Hargrave House, though there is no sign of Annie Morrish.
I was... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was going to see the doctor about, yeah, my throat and my nose and that.
Well, let's get to dusk. Victor, were you going to say anything else?
Yeah, no, I was going to say similar. I was wondering if we could maybe just have a quick vulnerability scene with
Razor Rose.
With Rose, yeah.
Yes, no, absolutely. Let me just shift my marker back to day so I don't lose track. So no, you can indeed. So the way that that the vulnerability move works is that well, you know, when you share, when you have an intimate moment with another player while one of you is engaged in your vice, you may clear an appropriate condition. If it's your vice, you can also blah blah blah. But your infirmary grants you a benefit.
Yes, I believe I can remove one additional physical condition. Oh no, sorry, everyone can, but in this case, I think only one of us would need to anyway. But yeah.
Okay. So yeah, let's have that move. This sounds like it's instituted by Dr. Weiss.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I think
inviting Rose through to the infirmary.
Yeah. I think maybe there's just that moment where we kind of both get back at roughly the same time, and I think the doctor says, "You look like you've been quite as much in the wars as I. I was going to the infirmary anyway. Do you wish to accompany me?"
I do, Doctor. That would be mighty fine. I've got a bruise on my throat from some sort of spirit and had a blood nose when I was in that James Street house. Yeah, that'd be just handy.
Yeah, and I think the doctor will lead the way to the infirmary. We'll open the door, and I think the room has that really harsh carbolic scent from being hosed down with carbolic acid, and he will reach into his coat pocket and pull out a gold cigarette case, which he'll open and take out. It's probably one of those like really fancy, like sort of black paper with the gold tip cigarette that he'll put one between his lips and say, "Do you smoke, Miss Roberts? I find it helps somewhat with the smell." And they're very fine.
I have a few times. I'm willing to give it a go.
And yeah, he'll light both of their cigarettes and sort of take a big, long, indulgent drag and sort of blow, not quite a smoke ring, but up into the air, and say,
she'll sort of smile and sort of move her hair back so she can show her neck and stuff, because he's a decent looking fellow and it's nice to be paid attention to.
It is, particularly when it's not involving being punched. And I'm seeing Dr. Weiss laying out in a very fastidious way, a dish with some antiseptic in it and a sterile cloth, and dabbing at Rose's nose. Is that the kind of thing we're seeing?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's is going to like I said, get some stuff out, clean up, probably clean up Rose's like open wounds first, and then do likewise to himself. And then I think he'll kind of go and prepare a couple of syringes. And so it's a particular mixture of my own. It's opium with a touch of cocaine just to prevent drowsiness. And
why isn't my doctor like this?
And administer it to himself first, and then offer it to offer a separate syringe to Rose.
Sure.
What do you mean separate syringe? Of course, it's the same syringe. This is 1870. It's an act of intimacy sharing a syringe.
Yes, indeed.
Go ahead.
But I think when he is there is that kind of as he's sort of treating the wounds, there is that sort of like slightly not entirely like not completely dispassionate way. It's a bit more. I think the way he touches her is a bit more sensitive than that, but is respectful and
right.
Like,
okay, I wasn't certain if you were going for sensitive or sensual.
Yeah, no, not at this juncture. I don't think.
Yeah, she doesn't move away, and says, if you like to examine me later, where I am, and smiles. Where she's from, they're not really subtle.
Okay, so as I understand it, that should clear Dr. Weiss's beaten up, and it should also clear one of Rose's conditions.
Probably bloodied nose makes the most sense, I think.
Yeah.
Have I read that right?
And then I think it will also clear, because I think we clear one each anyway, don't we? Or am I?
When you have an intimate moment with another hunter while one of you is engaged in your device, you may clear an appropriate. I think let's treat it as you both may clear an appropriate condition.
Yeah.
And then, so that is both of Rose's conditions
Yeah.
cleared because of the infirmary.
Oh, okay.
But if it's your Weiss, and it is Dr. Weiss,
Yes, indeed.
you can also stumble on a clue and you tell me what it is, or invite the other hunter to ask you about your past. You must answer truthfully, but not necessarily completely.
I think actually, because this kind of makes sense, I'm going to discover a clue here. And I think as Dr. Weiss is kind of treating the neck wound in particular, he kind of looks at it for a moment and looks a little puzzled, or not, more quizzical, I suppose, than puzzled. That's probably the better word to use. And he says, "One moment, please, Miss Roberts," and he will fetch like just a small pair of calipers. And we'll start to kind of measure the bruise marks and say, these have been done with considerable force. The tissue, bruising to the tissue goes quite deep, but very small. There would have to be both a lot of force behind this. And, well, if I didn't know any better, I would say that these were done by the hands of a child.
Well, that might be getting a little specific for a clue. So shall we say handprints in a certain of a certain size?
Yeah,
as a clue.
sure thing.
Yeah. And then it's sufficiently vague to be applicable in a number of different ways. So by all means, add that to the James Street ghost clues. And then you will hear the dinner gong as Chambers comes straight in from St. James Street, changes and dong. And I am going to move from day to dusk unless somebody stops me. Okay.
All good.
Dusk it is. So, dusk. Resolve any playbot moves or custom moves that are resolved during the dusk phase. Are we?
Yep, that's me.
That's you again. Okie dokie.
Rolling with.
This is the quickening. This is your feral beast.
Yep. Composure or sensitivity. I should probably be sensitivity since it's just gone up. I've just done that cosmic thing.
Yeah.
Had a ghostly encounter that day. So 1. Let's go. Seven. So 8 total.
8. Okay. You managed to keep the quickening in check, but just barely. Take the following condition: drained, unless you want to put on a mask.
No, but I think as I was sort of about to leave the infirmary, I was shaking and stuff. So Dr. Weiss would actually notice that I'd suddenly gone from, slightly happy and flirty to something's happening sort of thing.
Dr. Weiss, I mean, what's your? You see this change in Rose. What does the audience think you think?
He may have just gone out.
He may have just gone. Yeah, no, I wasn't sure. It's just the camera had gone. Okay, we'll keep that question for later. So at dusk, there are no other moves, I think, at this point. I post paint for the trophy room. So I think that we will have Rose and Dr. Weiss stopping off in the trophy room where Chambers can come to find them. Because maybe that was the first door that when Rose had her little turn, Dr. Weiss ushered her in to sit her down, and Chambers will come upon them. There were hunters living in Hargrave House before you. Trophies from their encounters will be with the supernatural can be found here. Describe one. Chambers, as you come in, what is the first thing you and the audience see? A trophy of the supernatural.
Yeah, I think she passes by kind of like this display case that's kind of hung up against the wall. And it's kind of like pressed against this like glass case, and the kind of like padding inside is like this pocket watch but completely disassembled, so that every piece is like separate from like each other, but still together in this case. Like the gears, the hands, the casing, and all that. It's all like disassembled. And there's a note underneath that just says, the Blackmore case, do not reassemble, in capital letters.
Do not reassemble. I like that. Okay. Dr. Weiss, I wasn't sure, David, if you caught any of that, but Rose had a bit of a turn, and you ushered her off the staircase into the trophy room. And so I'm looking for Dr. Weiss to describe a trophy of previous occupants of Hargrave House have taken a trophy that of their encounters with the supernatural.
Yeah, I think that there is, and I think it is mounted like a, like a hunting trophy, but it is a human skull, but with like big broad antlers coming out the side.
Like that. Thank you. And finally, Rose, as you kind of get a grip on the fever before it carries you away, what did you notice?
Maybe a painting of a person from, like, looks like a person from the cheekbones up, but the bottom half is like their jaw can actually split in two, as if they've got detachable mandibles.
So half human, half insect face. Yeah, like that. Creepy place, this. But after you've kind of got a grip and help Rose down, each player says what their hunter will be doing during the upcoming night phase. So let me go stick with that broad order. Chambers, do you have a plan for tonight?
Oh, I think, at least for my scene focus, I'll probably engage another my informals, but I think Chambers will want to like actually do stuff for Dr. Weiss this time.
Yeah, because one of the wishes from last
be
week,
around him.
yeah, one of the wishes was that you two should have some time together. So that sounds like you're kind of deferring in the direction of Dr. Weiss at this point. Yeah. Okay. Let me ask Dr. Weiss then. What are you planning to do this eve?
Yes, I think I am going to go back to the pie shop and have a look around inside.
Of course, you want to go to a cannibalistic pie shop at night. Okay, you're going to the pie shop. And what about Razor?
Well, I'll just say, do you need my assistance?
It certainly wouldn't hurt. We're not sure exactly what's waiting for us there, or if you think you might be able to find clues some other way, by all means.
Yeah, I'll come along.
Okay, so it looks like they're going to the pie shop, Chambers. Do you want to reconsider, or is it the pie shop for you?
I mean, I can find a reason to do something if you'd rather a duet scene.
I mean, each of you will frame a scene.
Yeah, that's what I.
That's
yeah,
not a
that's
problem.
yeah, that's what I meant. Like I was gonna frame a scene when informals, but will probably be when Dr. Weiss be around when Dr. Weiss frames the scene. So, yeah, it's basically like my scene is just great. It's gonna be Chambers gonna ask another favor of the informals, and then we'll be around when I guess everyone's going to the pie shop.
Fine. So that's fine. So anything else for Dusk? Any Janus masks? All our Janus masks are sorted. I will introduce an unseen. Let us consider.
I'm good, but it's been an hour. Do people
Oh,
want to?
sorry. Well remembered. No, thank you. Because last time I overran as well, and I was keeping my eye on the clock, and then it went. So no, let's take a break from now until 15:15, and we'll pick up the unseen then. Okay. Back from our break. So I will launch the unseen, and I'm going to use. This is the scene where we get a picture of what's going on in London as night approaches. Moored near Woolwich are a number of hollowed out old warships that serve as temporary prisons for convicts set to be transferred to Australia and other penal colonies. One of these prison hulks is the HMS Bellerophon, now called the HMS Captivity. A too young cook is walking above and below deck, passing out the evening's portion of hard biscuit and pea soup. Chambers, let me come to you first with a paint the scene, and then we'll do your meeting with the informals, perhaps. How do we know that captivity is a nightmare of filth and desperation?
Sorry, I was just discombobulated by this tab. I didn't realize there was a fourth column.
Oh yeah, no, they go on. They go on.
It goes
for
on.
reference, this is J11 I'm starting at.
Yes, I was trying to, where's this prison Hulk? Because I vaguely remember playing this 2 years ago. This specific unseen. How do I there's a nightmare of filth and desperation? It is, let me double check safety. It's shame I didn't fully check this last time. It is noisy with rats. It's like hard to sleep and hard to walk without the sound of scurrying feet. Underneath you, next to you, above you. They're kind of everywhere. It's well, we'll see how if these prisoners have adapted to it. But yeah, it's I think there are like we get shots of like some prisoners, probably the very used ones who are kind of like just trudging through and just acknowledging that they're there, while the newer ones are still kind of like trying to carve out a space for them that's rat free. There are probably there's a cycle every now and then where like some new prisoners will get together some rat catchers, but it always kind of like dies out.
Okay, no, I like that. So frame your night scene, Chambers.
Sorry, I just had to write down the thing. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna once again call upon my informals. I get kind of like the sense that I will probably have to remind myself and the world that I do work for Dr. Victor Weiss and accompany him in whatever he's gonna do. Whatever nonsense he's going to do. So but I still want to keep tabs on the St. James's stuff that's happening there. So I'm gonna call upon a street urchin. Young Kip Longfellow, quite short, smells of hay, weirdly red.
Okay, so
he's been cavorting in those clay pits again.
So let's roll with presents to see who kills Kip.
Oh, you never know. Well, we're not gonna find out just yet, but because it's a 9.
A 9. Okay, 7 to 9. They show up right away and do as you wish. Any roles associated with actions they help you with are taken at advantage. Now, just mechanically, this means they help you with stuff. They can't do stuff, right? On 7 to 9, as above, but they take a while to show up, or they want something in exchange for their help. I'm going to leave that on the shelf, if that's okay, and see if and when you invoke Kip Longfellow, and I'll decide what Kip might want.
Yeah.
So if it's okay with you, we're going to have Kip Longfellow turn up, but I think I'd like to deal with the details once we've got a context for his arrival, for when you choose to use him.
Okay.
Let's go to Dr. Weiss next. Dr. Weiss, do you want to set a scene in London's night? But I will first ask you, I can get the hang of this game. I first ask you to narrate a scene in which we see the convicts at leisure. How do they entertain themselves? How do they maintain their connection to God and society, if at all?
Yeah, so I think we see a in this like press of the hold, with the rats running around. I think we see some well, not sailors, obviously some convicts. That's what I was looking for. Who are playing dice with some improvised dice that have probably been fashioned from whatever remnants of bone were in their stew. But whilst this is going on, there is an older man with a kind of wild beard, and what clearly was at some point a sort of almost like a not quite tonsured, but that kind of bald pate, but with then wild hair under it, who is reading out the from a bit of newspaper. Again, the newspaper is like greasy and stained and was clearly just used to wrap something in, but is kind of reading off the news from it, interspersed with bits of what sound almost like a kind of a religious sermon, and from like his delivery, the way he speaks, it's clear that he is kind of a practiced sermonizer.
I like that. If you want to summarize that in the slot underneath there, I'd be grateful. Actually, that's complex to do, isn't it? Because I'm now going to ask you to frame the scene that you're part of. So I'll put something in there while you think about the frame you want to see, the scene you want to frame. So this is dice and sermons from the newspaper.
Yeah,
I can't spell sermons. We have dice and swarms, but you get the idea. So Dr. Weiss, do you want to frame a scene for us?
Yeah. So I think this will be arriving at the pie shop, probably going down that back alleyway that Rag showed us earlier, and just kind of I think that probably Dr. Weiss will try the back door and see if it opens. If it doesn't, then he'll just kind of step back and look to Chambers.
And of course, this is too good an opportunity to not reintroduce Billy and his mate. As you try the door, Billy and his mate step out of the shadows and say, "It seems to me, Johnny, that this gentleman didn't get the message." And in the moonlight, we see the glint of knives. Dr. Weiss, what do you do? And then I will come to Chambers.
Yeah, I think Dr. Weiss will just sort of turn to them and say, "Not now, gentlemen. You've already had quite enough out of me for one day. Please do run along. This really is not worth your time. The risks here far outweigh the benefits."
And Johnny says to Billy, "He's brought his piece with him. Up to no good in the back streets, are we, mister?" As he eyes Chambers salaciously. Chambers, what do you do?
Well, always trusted Dr. Weiss to handle himself. I'm just a mere servant here, but I think like Chambers' like expression is like, you know, can cut through butter. For sure. It's like viciously kind of cold. And I think like I don't have any weapons or first parts. I do have that shard. I was gonna use that for later. But just in case if anything were to happen.
I just wanted to know if you were going to physically intervene before one of them comes at Dr. Weiss. So Dr. Weiss, I think this is the night move. So when you do something risky, blah, 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 name what you're afraid will happen if you fail, and I will tell you how it's worse than you fear.
Aren't I there?
Yeah, but I want to make sure we wanted a duet scene with these two. Dr. Weiss?
Sure thing. So yeah, I think I'm just wondering, Hicks. I feel like it would make more sense for Chambers if Chambers is going to intervene, for that to happen here.
Okay.
There are two of them, I will remind you.
True. So yeah, I think in which case, as like the kind of the as they approach, I think that Dr. Weiss is going to pull a scalpel from his coat, and just say, I will not warn you for another time, gentlemen. Leave us be. I will not hesitate to resort to violence if you force my hand.
Okay. So what are you afraid will happen if this goes sideways?
I think that quite simply, yeah. Dr. Weiss is going to end up stabbed.
Yeah. And the keeper will tell you how it's worse than you fear. You can choose to back down or go through with it. You bleed out in this alleyway and die.
Sure thing. Yeah. I'm going to continue.
Ooh. Now, Chambers, that is what is unfolding. I am prepared. Now you know what's at stake. Are you going to intervene or not?
Oh, I am, because I just remembered that any rules associated with any action done in direct defense is already at advantage, so I don't even need to pull out that shard, that mirror shard.
Indeed not.
It's just going to happen. I think like had Chambers' hand behind her back, but I think the camera can see that she's taking off her gloves. I'm just kind of letting them drop to the ground.
Okay, so you are going to physically intervene. Is the plan here? Okay. Yes. Let's have you roll the night move. What are you afraid is going to happen? And then we'll see how these two moves play out together, I think.
Well, I'm afraid that Dr. Weiss's nonsense is gonna take up the rest of my night.
Okay. You'll need to give me a bit more to work with than that. Do you mean?
Oh yes,
sat in a hospital ward?
Yeah. Basically, having to drag him out and take care of his ass for the rest of the night.
Okay. I have to say, it's worse than that. You too could be bleeding out in this alleyway as one of them turns on you with a vicious straight razor.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go ahead or do you want to back down?
Oh yeah.
Okay, well let's have Chambers start then as intervene, and then the one that perhaps Chambers doesn't put down may come after Dr. Weiss. Okay, Chambers, let's have you roll that night move.
Okay,
It sounds like vitality.
And thankfully I'm rolling with advantage then. I don't have. I ain't got anything.
Well, I mean, given what you described, I'm struggling to see how else this plays out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yes, absolutely. Because I like to think that Chambers is a good employee and follows on from their employer, and Dr. Weiss pulled out a scalpel. So we're just gonna go right ahead.
But hang on, you're rolling with
Amazing.
advantage. Don't you need to roll a third dice?
I rolled 3 dice.
Oh, did you?
That's
Well, I
a
need to roll
2,
two
a
more.
2, and a 3.
Oh, wow. So that is a fail. Chambers, you are bleeding out in the alleyway. Do you want to put on a mask? Oh, Leandro is frozen. Well, that's a cliffhanger. Dr. Weiss, let's go to you while Leandro is unfreezing.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, you froze at the point that I think I said, and Chambers slumps to the ground, bleeding out. Oh, you've frozen again though. Okay, I'm going to assume Leandro is going to come back. Leandro, is that any better? Oh,
Yeah, okay, I can see all now. Hello again.
Yeah, you're very choppy. What I'm saying is that Chambers is bleeding out in the alleyway. Do you want to invoke a Janus mask to improve outcomes?
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely gonna I'm gonna invoke one. Oh man, the darkened threshold is kind of calling to me from the Mask of the Future.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, the Mask of the Future is meant to be like omens of the future, whatnot. And this one is narrate a scene in which you commit a terrible act of violence in order to help your employer or punish one of their enemies.
Oh, well, go ahead then.
Yeah.
Do narrate a scene.
Yeah, I think like what was the last thing Dr. Weiss said? Like
I am prepared to resort to violence was the gist of it, I think.
Mm-hmm. What did the 2 thugs kind of respond to him?
They just attacked him. Both of them went for him. You stepped in the way. You end up taking a straight razor cut across the abdomen.
Yeah, I think like I just kind of like, because this only bumps me up to like a 7 to 9, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like I just kind of like see that, and like this is like very sudden and like kind of maybe unexpected to the audience, but maybe not to Dr. Weiss. Chambers, like with her left hand, grabs like the wrist of the person holding the razor, and with her right hand just kind of like punches him in the face, like again and again, quite brutally, and takes the razor and will probably do some other horrible stuff that we don't need to get into.
Okay, well, I'm not sure our lines and veils need to stop us doing that. I think what we've got an ask on gore. I'm just checking in. Body horror. No, I don't think we don't have a line on lots of blood. So and an ask first on eye injuries, graphic injuries, and gore. We have an ask first.
Yeah.
So
I think
does anybody want to kind of veil this?
No, you're good. Go to town.
What do we?
I think I would say that actually instead of using razor, like Chambers is just kind of like fist, kind of like just punches the guy in the face.
And I think the camera angle is looking up at Chambers as she punches and punches and punches and punches, and as the hand begins to come back, it's coated in blood, and as she continues, but blood is splashing up in her face as the bloody pulp that was this man's head remains off screen. Dr. Weiss, Chambers has dealt with one of them. Another one is coming after you. Let's have you roll the night move. It sounds like vitality because you said you'd resort to physical violence, and that's where it's gone.
Yes, indeed. I think we're at that point of the evening.
Are you gonna? Is there anything in your
I don't believe so. No. Sadly, I don't think I brought my phrenology head with which to batter him.
Don't you know that is always the thing you want to have with you when you're in Whitechapel or Shoreditch? So 2d6 plus vitality.
Well, that is a double one.
Gee whiz. As we see the fist pummeling this one of Johnny into pulp, into bloody pulp, the other one slashes at Dr. Weiss's throat, and you are going to die as blood cascades down the front of your suit. Would you like to put on a mask, Dr. Weiss?
I would indeed. I think I'm going to go for a mask of the future. I think I'm going to go for the cosmic passage as well, actually.
Okay. Increase your sensitivity one, and is it just increase your sensitivity, or do you have to reduce something?
I think mine is just increase, yeah.
Oh, so it is, yeah. Oh, that's good. I thought they were all the same. They're not. Gee whiz.
So yeah, and I think there's that moment where the Billy, I believe his name is advancing on me, and there's just I think Dr. Weiss just gives a smile as he looks Billy up and down and says, "You know, I think you'll do," and jabs the scalpel into the side of his throat before he kind of takes that like, yeah.
So the arm goes back, ready to slice you across the throat, as he's open, a precise stroke at the jugular, and there's a look of surprise on his face, and he goes down like a ton of bricks. Now there are complications because both of you are in a 7 to 9 range. Chambers, I think you have a condition, bruised or a broken knuckle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think given what you just told me, Victor, I think that inhuman detachment would be an appropriate condition for you. Rose, what do you do as you hear footsteps running towards you down the lane behind the figs pie shop?
Oh yeah, I'll run around and catch up with the others because I presume I'll sort of stay there on lookout and then heard something and
something is running towards you.
Oh, all right.
What do you do?
I'll got my knife. My double-ended iron silver knife thing.
Okay.
I'll just get it ready.
A shadowy figure is running out of the darkness towards you. Are you restraining, or do you want to put him down?
I'll try and restrain first.
Okay, so let's the night move as it applies to you then. What do you think you're afraid will happen if this goes badly?
Will attract too much attention.
Lights will go on. People will turn up. Yeah. I think that a policeman will turn up and discover everything that Hargrave House has just done in this alley. Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. I think this sounds like vitality as you try to grasp this figure in the darkness. That the knife doesn't help you with that, so I'm not giving you advantage.
7.
A 7. You do it, but there is a complication or cost. The complication is that the figure is smaller than you thought, but as you grasp them, they kick you viciously in the knee. And I'm going to give you the complication of a limp,
Oh, God.
unless
Okay.
you want to put on a mask to improve the outcome.
No, I can live with that.
Okay, you have caught the urchin, Rag, the lookout for Billy and Johnny, who saw what went on and was legging it. But you've got him by the kind of scruff of his neck. Probably lifted him off the ground.
Yeah. I'll just say, eat it, kid, or I'll cut you like a fish. I'm not actually going to do that. I'm just trying to scare him to, go
And
away.
he sees this bizarre weapon that you've got in your hand, and his eyes go wide, and he will
Yeah,
run into the darkness if you let him go.
Yeah, fine.
He's gone. He's gone. But all three of you now have unfettered access to the bottom of Fig's pie shop. What are you going to do with it? I've just realized that I didn't do another unseen. Damn my eyes. Razor, narrate a scene in which we see a convict being punished by a ship's officer. What did the convict do? How is the punishment being carried out?
I think there was a leak and the convict was sort of getting buckets of water, chucking it overboard, and they sort of wringing out their top because there's heaps of water on them, and they bumped into the captain, and the captain sort of looked at them like, who are you, urchin, sort of thing. And the bosun steps towards him with a paddle, which has like spikes on it.
And woof.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. If you want to put something in that scene, I will narrate the last one, I think, because we're missing a fourth player. Narrate a scene in which we see a convict finding comfort and companionship within the bulkheads of the captivity. I think we see, we hear the clank of leg irons as a figure makes their way down into the bowels of the ship, where another convict reaches and holds their hand and draws them into a dark corner where there is some dry straw. So I think I'll put love in terrible circumstances as a aid memo to that. Okay. So yes, you have access to the pie shop, which was the whole point, really. So I can tell you that if you go into the pie shop, and that's not difficult, Victor, from your previous experience, and Chambers can certainly get through that door. You can see, hang on, where's it gone? Here we go. So we've got, you come in through the basement. There is a kitchen and the shop on the ground floor, and on the floor above that is the flat where they lived. So, Victor, can I ask you where do we see you looking for any clues or information? Which of those locations?
Victor's initial inclination would have been to go to the flat because that's sort of where he wants to learn more about these people. However, I think given the situation with the bodies, I think that he's probably seen that the bodies are dragged down into the basement because at this point, what's a couple more?
So Victor, we will see you in the basement. I'll come back to you in a moment. Chambers, what about you? Are you staying with your employer or are you going to another part of the Figs residence?
Well, I'm staying. I think
Okay, so that's Victor and Chambers. And that leaves you, Razor, with the kitchen, the front counter, or the flat they lived in.
The flat they lived in.
Okay.
I've still got my knife out because I'm quite wary.
Okay.
I'm thinking the thugs might have been in cahoots or something.
Okay. So let's start with the basement. Walls covered in streaks of dried blood. Great. A preponderance of bones with bits of meat still on them. Written on the walls in ash, all praise the great Hisao. Chambers. This is where the Fig's victims met their grisly end. Looking around, how do you know the kills were quick and painless? Oh, looks like Leandro has gone very still again. I tell you what, let me ask that of Dr. Weiss. Dr. Weiss, how do we know that the kills were quick and painless?
Yeah, I think that there is like a gutter in the floor, like leading to a little drain, and there is a chain and a hook hanging above it, and with a couple. No, sorry, not a hook, but a couple of manacles. But the manacles are clearly sized to go around someone's ankles, so it's obvious that the body would have been hung from the ceiling, and you know, a single precisely aimed knife to the throat into the receptacle provided. So I think that's kind of what we see in here.
Chambers, the Figs enjoyed working together. What do you see that confirms this?
I think there's like a home stitched sign above, like probably like, you know, the butcher's table.
The family that ...
Yeah, I think like works together, stays together. It's nice and wholesome.
Okay, let's have each of you make the information move down here then. Dr. Weiss, let's start with you. How do we see you looking around? So we've got an idea of which of these stats we want to work with.
Yeah, so I think once they've made their own contributions to the to the basement, I think Dr. Weiss is going to head over to this pile of bones in the room, and is going to start looking at them, tapping them, seeing how new or old they are, measuring them, you know, kind of cataloging some of these bones. And I think, you know, we kind of, but it's clear, like I think it's clear from the way that he's doing, he's being quite methodical about the way that he works, but it's also clear that like he has no compunction about sifting through a load of bones. I think we see a few of the just small finger bones and stuff like that. He just kind of scatters away as he's like looking at it, and they sort of just clatter across the floor.
Fine. Then I think that sounds like reason.
Sure thing. I think that my medical texts might apply here as well, if that seems fair.
No,
as I think, yeah, you know, he's kind of doing that sort of anthropology style, trying to work out details about the victims, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that gives me a total of 9.
9. Do you want to turn that into a 10?
No, I think I'll leave that as a 9 for now.
Okay. I will give you a clue. Pardon me. And the clue that you find a trail of marmalade running across the basement floor towards a cupboard The clue is dots of now dried marmalade making a path as if leading something in or out of a particular room. But there is a complication, and that is that as you open the door that it leads to, a trussed up corpse with an apple stuck in its mouth tumbles out onto you, pushing you backwards and over onto the floor. Yeah? But the clue is the marmalade one. I'll come to Leandro in a bit because it looks like he's having connectivity problems. Rose, upstairs in the Fig's flat, what tells you that the Figs were a loving family? Looking around you, how do you know this?
Like the beds and the couches had extra blankets and sort of worn spots. It's obvious they spent a lot of time sitting here talking to each other, and there's a lot of homely smells of cooking and, you know, maybe a cigar pipe. And yeah, it's obvious they spent a lot of time here relaxing and chilling out together.
Yeah, it doesn't fit with the madman at Bethlehem. How strange. Let's have you make the information move. What do we see? How are you searching?
I think with my nose, I think I'm just smelling.
So that sounds like vitality, or is it sensitivity that works there? I'm never quite certain. Take your pick.
There we go, sensitivity.
Okay. So
sort of
see what you can sense of this place.
Hang on, I only rolled 2. 1. I'm sure I selected 2. Come on. How much better? 6.
Goodness me. This gets better and better, doesn't it?
Yep.
You open what you take to be a door into a back room, but in fact it's out onto the flat roof of an outhouse. And as the door opens, a flock of ravens and crows sweep out of the night sky and attack you.
Sweet.
Do you want to put on a mask before I apply a condition to you?
I'm always getting beaten up. God damn it. I suppose. Gonna run out of masks at this rate.
What's you thinking?
I suppose I can narrate a flashback to your youth when you're showing your arrogant, willful brat.
Okay, so narrate it, and then we'll improve that from a 6 to a 7 to 9.
You know, Daddy got me a horse for my 12th birthday, and you know, it was muddy that day, and its feet stomped and got mud on my dress, and I demanded Daddy shoot the horse.
And Daddy did. What an unpleasant child you were. Fine. So on a 7 to 9, you gain a clue, and I think the clue I will give you is that out here on the flat roof, there's a great amount of hay scattered around. Okay? But the complication is that you have to beat a retreat from this room. No one will be able to examine the upstairs of the Fig pie shop until they find a way to rid the place of these crows and ravens. Okay? Chambers, Leandro, you're having such trouble with connectivity. You look vaguely frozen now. Leandro, can I suggest you turn the video off?
Of course, that's the problem. Yeah, hold on.
Let's try you with voice only. So
yeah,
Chambers, Dr. Weiss has found a trail of marmalade and a trussed human being Rose has been beset by dark birds of ill omen. How do we see you investigating the basement?
Wait, so there was a trussed up human?
Yes. I
Huh.
quote, a trussed up corpse with an apple. Yeah, that was the one I gave you, wasn't it? A trussed up human corpse with an apple stuck in its mouth. Yeah.
It fell on me, which was embarrassing for everyone involved.
Okay, yeah, that's what I missed. I think I resist the urge to roll my eyes. I think I took a scrap of clothing from the man we just murdered to wrap around my broken knuckles. So it's not gonna fix it, but just like help it. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to search this cupboard. I'm not gonna. Maybe I should help Dr. Weiss with this corpse off of him. So I'm gonna do that. I think I'll just say like, I thought we'd leave all the physical applications to the doctor. Is that what we agreed?
So this sounds like a fairly systematic search, Chambers. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
So this sounds like reason.
Yeah. Okay.
Roll with reason. Do you have a reason? Do you have any reason for this to be advantageous?
No, I don't think so.
No, and I don't think your broken knuckle makes any difference.
Yeah. That's an 8.
8. So on an 8, I will give you a clue, and the clue is when you investigate the cupboard where the trussed up human was to be found, it turns out the reason they fell out is that they were propped up on piles of velvet cushions caked with dried blood. Okay. But the complication is that you hear a police whistle from the back lane.
I think I look at the doctor and the corpses, all 3 of them. I'm just gonna say, you've got your work to be getting on, Doctor. Perhaps it's better we leave these to the rats.
Do you think you might distract the good officer for a short time? Chambers, I have the last few pieces of work to attend to before we leave.
Yes, Doctor.
At the risk of forgetting about Kip the urchin, have you thought, James, about going out the front of the shop and whistling up Kip and his hand cart?
Yeah. I think I think now's the time to bring them in. Cool. I think I'll Chambers is gonna tear another piece of cloth and maybe wipe some of the blood off their face. Go out of the shop and realize they've got a broken hand, broken knuckle, but still kind of give a whistle to Kip.
I'm gonna have you roll with the night move to see whether you can get away, Dr. Weiss. One body would be straightforward, i.e. it will be advantage for Chambers. 2 bodies would be flat.
I think Dr. Weiss's prime concern here is Billy's torso, so that should be enough for now.
Okay, so let's have it, because this is with advantage with Kip's help, Chambers. Kip knows not to ask any questions. Hello, miss. Oh, it's another body, is it? And on it. So let's have you roll the night move with advantage because Kip is there to help.
Let's hope we get some good rolls.
What could go wrong here, Chambers?
Absolutely nothing, since it's a 10.
Okay.
Oh, what you do?
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. No,
sorry, I rolled too quickly.
No, you do.
I
what you
forgot.
intended. Describe what it looks like. So you tell me what do we see at the end of the night phase?
Yeah, I think Chambers is kind of like, I think like when dealing with her informals, she's like also kind of more informal, so just kind of rolls her eyes when Kip says that's another body. He says, yes, I hope you're not too tired of that.
And I think that brings us to the end
Need
of
the
our
coppers
night.
looking the other way.
I think that brings us to the end of our night phase, which is a good time to take a break. Shall we say it's on the hour? Shall we be back in our seats at 5 past? Okay, I'll see you at 5 past the hour.